Listen to me carefully. There is a pain that does not make noise. There is a heartbreak that does not announce itself. It is the pain of a woman who gave her loyalty to one man for years, prayed for him, defended him, believed in him, only to wake up one day and find herself alone. And if you are that woman, hear me by the Spirit of God, your years were not wasted. Many people will never understand the depth of what you carried. They saw you single, but they did not see the covenant you made in your heart. They saw you quiet, but they did not see the prayers you whispered at night. They saw time passing, but they did not see how you preserved yourself, because you believed love was sacred. You loved one man, not casually, not emotionally unstable, not out of desperation. You loved with intention, with purity, with hope. And now you sit alone asking God, Lord, did I mishear you? Did I waste my youth? Did I waste my tears? Let me tell you something that may shock you. Loyalty is never a waste, even when it is not reciprocated. The tragedy is not that you love deeply. The tragedy would have been if you had become bitter, scattered, and broken in your values. But you did not. You stayed aligned with your convictions. You stayed honorable. You stayed prayerful. Do you know what that means? It means your character survived disappointment, and that is powerful. There are women who move from man to man and lost themselves in the process, but you remain anchored, and though you feel alone, heaven calls you preserved. Now listen carefully. Sometimes God allows a long attachment, not because it is your destination, but because it is your training ground. You learn patience, you learned intercession, you learned emotional discipline, you learned how deeply you can love. Those lessons are not punishments, they are preparation. The danger now is not the past relationship. The danger is the voice that whispers, you are too late, you are forgotten, all the good men are gone, your time has passed. That voice is not from God. God does not mock the faithful. He does not reward purity with abandonment. He does not honor consecration with emptiness. Sometimes what feels like abandonment is divine interruption. What if the reason it did not work is not because you were insufficient, but because you were too valuable to be misaligned permanently? Hear me. Marriage is not just about love. It is about destiny alignment. Two people may love each other sincerely and still not be assigned to walk the same prophetic path. And if God sees 5 years ahead and knows that the road will destroy you, he can allow temporary heartbreak to preserve your future peace. You are not alone because you are undesirable. You are alone because heaven refused to let you settle. And yes, it hurts. I will not insult your intelligence by pretending it does not. When you see wedding pictures, when you attend ceremonies, when relatives ask questions, when nights feel longer than usual, it hurts. But pain is not proof of failure. Sometimes pain is proof that you love genuinely. And hear me, woman of God, do not let one closed chapter convince you that your story is over. There are seasons in a woman's life when God hides her, not because she is unwanted, but because she is being refined. Gold does not announce itself while it is in the fire. You may feel forgotten, but you are being forged. The worst decision you can make now is to panic marry out of fear, to choose companionship over calling, to say yes just because time is moving. No, time does not determine worth. Alignment does. Let your heart heal. Let your expectations be surrendered. Let God rewrite your imagination. And if, listen carefully, if that man was truly ordained for you, nothing in this world could permanently remove him from your life. What God joins cannot be destroyed by misunderstanding, distance, or delay. But if you walked away and stayed away, have the courage to believe that God saw something you did not. Do not downgrade your standards because you feel behind. Do not question your beauty because someone hesitated. Do not question your value because someone was confused. You are not a backup plan. You are not a waiting list option. You are not a rehearsal. You are a destiny. And destiny cannot be rushed by emotion. One day you will look back and realize that the years you thought you lost were actually years you were being strengthened. Your discernment sharpened, your identity solidified, your relationship with God deepened. And when the right alignment comes, and it will, you will not enter it desperate, you will enter it whole. Hear me, being alone is not the same as being abandoned. Waiting is not the same as being rejected. And loving deeply is not the same as being foolish. Lift your head. The God who saw your loyalty saw your tears. The God who counted your sacrifices has not misplaced your reward. This is not the end of your story. It is the purification of your heart for something that will not break under pressure. So do not close your heart. Do not grow cynical. Do not become what hurts you. Remain soft. Remain discerning. Remain prayerful. Because the same capacity you used to love one man faithfully for years is the same capacity that will build a home that stands. And when that day comes, you will not say, I was delayed. You will say, God preserved me. Your loyalty was not wasted. It was preparation, not punishment. Hear this with understanding. In a generation that treats love as disposable and commitment as optional, the fact that you remain loyal is not a weakness. It is a rare strength. You did not scatter your heart in pieces across different seasons and different phases. You chose one person and you stood by that choice with sincerity. You prayed, you believed, you waited, you endured uncertainty. That kind of loyalty is not common. It is forged from depth, conviction, and purity of intention. Many people measure value by outcome. If it did not end in marriage, they call it a mistake. If it did not produce a ring, they call it wasted years. But heaven does not measure your story by public results. Heaven measures by character formed, by integrity sustained, by the posture of your heart when no one was clapping for you. Loyalty is not validated only by marriage. It is validated by who you became while you were loving. Understand this. Love reveals capacity. The fact that you could love one man consistently for years reveals that you have emotional depth, endurance, and stability. You were not driven by every new attraction. You were not unstable in your affection. You were anchored. That anchoring is not wasted. It is training. It is refinement. It is the development of a heart that knows how to commit beyond feelings. While you thought you were simply waiting for him, God was building you. He was strengthening your discernment. He was teaching you patience in silence. He was showing you the difference between attachment and alignment. You learn to pray through confusion. You learn to manage expectations. You learn to trust God even when the future was unclear. These are not small lessons. They are the architecture of maturity. Sometimes what we call wasted years are actually years of internal construction. You were being built on the inside in ways you did not see. Your standards were tested. Your motives were purified. Your dependence shifted gradually from a human promise to divine stability. That shift is not punishment. It is preparation for a love that will not collapse under pressure. If you had rushed into something else out of fear, perhaps you would have avoided temporary loneliness, but you might have entered permanent misalignment. Loyalty restrained you from scattering yourself emotionally. It preserved your ability to love deeply without fragmentation. In a world where many enter marriage already exhausted from countless emotional entanglements, you remain focused. That focus is strength. You must refuse the narrative that says you were foolish. Foolishness is ignoring red flags out of desperation. Foolishness is compromising values to avoid being alone. But choosing to love faithfully according to your convictions is not foolish. It is courageous. It takes strength to stay when others are moving on casually. It takes discipline to guard your heart even when you are unsure of the outcome. Preparation often feels like loss because it is hidden. When a building is under construction, you see dust, scaffolding, and noise. It does not look beautiful in the process, but the purpose is stability. Your loyalty trained your heart to endure. It taught you how to communicate, how to forgive, how to hope without becoming bitter. These are relational muscles. Muscles grow through resistance, not comfort. And consider this: if that relationship did not culminate in marriage, it does not mean those years are erased. They shaped you. They revealed patterns. They exposed areas that needed healing. They clarified what you truly desire and what you cannot compromise on. You are entering your next season with sharper clarity because of what you walked through. That clarity is an advantage. Punishment diminishes a person. Preparation strengthens a person. Look at yourself honestly. Are you weaker or are you wiser? Are you more confused about your worth, or are you more aware of what you bring to the table? Even in the pain, something inside you has grown. Your expectations are no longer naive. your prayers are more grounded. Your identity is less dependent on someone else's decision. The years you call wasted were years that proved your capacity for covenant. They revealed that you are not afraid of consistency. They showed that you can stay committed even when it is not glamorous. That quality will not expire simply because one story ended. It remains in you as part of your design. Preparation is rarely comfortable, but it is always intentional. Being alone is not rejection, it is divine preservation. There is a difference between being left and being protected, but when you are in pain, those two can feel identical. When someone walks away, when years of expectation suddenly collapse, the first interpretation of the heart is rejection. You begin to question your worth. You replay conversations. You analyze your flaws. You wonder what you could have done differently. But not every ending is a verdict on your value. Sometimes it is a rescue you do not yet understand. Rejection says you are not enough. Preservation says this is not right for you. Rejection attacks identity. Preservation protects destiny. The problem is that preservation rarely announces itself. It feels like loss before it reveals itself as protection. It feels like emptiness before it shows itself as space being cleared for something aligned. When you are alone after loving deeply, the silence can be loud. You notice the absence. You notice the unanswered messages. You notice the plans that will never happen. And in that silence, your mind can construct a dangerous narrative that you were not chosen because you were insufficient. But divine preservation does not operate from insufficiency. It operates from foresight. God sees trajectories, not just emotions. He sees where a path will lead 5, 10, 20 years from now. What feels compatible today may become destructive tomorrow. What feels like chemistry now may become conflict later. Preservation intervenes before damage becomes permanent. It allows temporary heartbreak to prevent long-term regret. You may have seen potential, you may have seen promise, you may have imagined a future, but imagination is not the same as alignment. Two people can care deeply for one another and still not be built for the same assignment. Preservation is not always about sin or toxicity. Sometimes it is simply about mismatch. A life partner is not just someone you love, it is someone whose direction strengthens yours. If that alignment is absent, preservation will create distance even when feelings are strong. Being alone in this season does not mean you were disqualified. It may mean you were too valuable to be misplaced. If something would have limited your growth, silenced your calling, or slowly eroded your peace, preservation will interrupt it. An interruption feels painful because it disrupts your expectations. The human heart prefers familiarity over uncertainty. Even imperfect attachment can feel safer than unknown possibility. But divine preservation is not interested in your temporary comfort. It is committed to your long-term wholeness. It will remove what you would have settled for. It will dismantle what you were prepared to tolerate. It will allow a door to close so that you do not spend years trying to survive behind it. Aloneness in this context is not a sentence. It is a sanctuary. It is space to recalibrate. It is room to rediscover who you are without emotional dependency. It is an opportunity to build identity that is not anchored to someone else's presence. Preservation uses solitude to strengthen self-awareness. It uses quiet seasons to restore perspective. If you had entered marriage simply to avoid loneliness, you might have sacrificed peace for proximity. You might have chosen companionship over compatibility. Preservation prevented that compromise. It refused to let fear make your decisions. It refused to let time pressure dictate your standards. Do not confuse delay with denial. Preservation often looks like delay because it slows you down. It removes what seems urgent. It challenges your timeline. But delay can be messy. It can be the difference between a story that looks good publicly and a life that feels stable privately. Your current aloneness is not a public statement about your desirability. It is a private act of protection over your future. What did not happen may be shielding you from what could have broken you. What ended may be preventing what would have confined you. What feels like rejection may actually be redirection disguised as loss. Do not let heartbreak change your standards. Destiny requires alignment, not desperation. Heartbreak has a way of whispering dangerous suggestions. It tells you to lower the bar. It tells you to accept what you once would have rejected. It tells you that your expectations were the problem. When love does not work out, the temptation is to assume that your standards were too high, your boundaries too firm, your vision too idealistic. But pain is not always proof that you ask for too much. Sometimes it is proof that you refuse to accept too little. Desperation is subtle. It does not announce itself loudly. It disguises itself as realism. It says, maybe this is good enough. It says, at least I won't be alone. It says, no one is perfect. And while it is true that no one is perfect, alignment is not about perfection. It is about direction. It is about shared values, shared vision, shared spiritual posture. It is about whether two lives can move forward without one shrinking to accommodate the other. When heartbreak hits, your confidence can shake. You may begin to question your beauty, your intelligence, your timing. You may compare yourself to others who seem to have what you desire. In that fragile state, standards can feel heavy. They can feel like obstacles standing between you and relief. But standards are not obstacles, they are safeguards. They protect your future from emotional decisions made in temporary weakness. Destiny is not built on convenience. It is built on compatibility of purpose. If you tie your life to someone who does not honor your calling, you will constantly negotiate your identity. You will dilute your convictions to maintain peace. You will silence parts of yourself to avoid conflict. That is not love, that is slow erosion.
Thanks for watching full video. Please subscribe for upcoming new videos. Thank you.